What's up guys, it's me Deshaun, and today we'll be ranking every single student in Soul Eater. Don't forget to like and subscribe and consider donating to Patreon, and with that, let's get started. Now to start things off with the first and weakest student, we have Kana Altair. She would be a not student, which would be the curriculum for non-combatants. Even in comparison to another student from the not class, she's even smaller than the main character, Tsugumi. Despite being a Meister, someone who would typically use weapons, she is an expert divination. Rather than taking on a combative role, she is more of a support, with her skills simply being the ability to predict the future. And she's able to see whether or not a Meister and weapon are compatible. Now, Foresight is a very helpful ability, but she is so small and basically has no combat ability, so she's not going to be able to put that same ability into good use, but at least she can do it for others. Up next, we have Hao and his partner Raid. These characters are also in the not class, and it seems as if they are the weakest characters that have some type of combat ability, period, because Hao's partner Raid can't even fully transform into a weapon. But what they have over Kana is the fact that despite Raid being an ugly deformed head dagger thing, he still has a dagger part on his head that he can still attack his opponents with. In fact, despite getting washed by Anya, at least they were able to somewhat give a fight in the first place and seem threatening, even though that threat was very minuscule. At least later on in the series, he's almost a full weapon. To be fair, I kind of want to put anyone who can't turn into a weapon in the same exact spot as Hao and Raid, so I'm going to include Eren here as well. He can turn into a bow and arrow, but he still can't control his weapon transformation. Kinda useless. To be fair, he's actually weaker than Hao and Raid. But yes, any character that can't control their weapon transformation, I'm gonna put them right here. That includes unnamed characters. Up next, we have a character named Tom, a Meister with a fencing sword, who is able to spar with and keep up with Ox. Now, unfortunately, outside of this scene, we never see Tom again. But the fact that he's a Meister who can actually use his weapon and even fight against somebody like Ox, I feel like it's a no-brainer as to why he's above everyone below him on the list, considering most of them can't even turn into weapons. Up next, I decided to use Mai, and this would be the version of her that is getting controlled by Shaola, one of the Gorgon sisters and the main antagonist of Soul Eater Not. Mai, or another alias for her Eternal Feather, can transform into a knife. And as a weapon, she can transform parts of her body into a weapon as well. As you can see, she turns her arm into a butterfly knife. And she is so strong that she was able to fight against both Soul and Maka. Granted, Soul and Maka were not trying to hurt her. I feel like this is an impressive feat in itself. Let's say Tom and Ox are sparring. You could argue that Tom is stronger than Mai, but me, I'd say they're on par, if not Mai is slightly stronger. It would make sense for Tom to be stronger because he can actually use a Soul Resonance with his weapon. But if you ask me, Monster Possessed Weapon Girl versus Soul and Maka, who are easily one of the best Meisters at DWMA, I'm gonna put her right here. Up next, we have Tsugumi and her three other Meisters, Anya, Mei, and Ao. Now, Tsugumi with just Mei and Anya was able to defeat a witch, despite being in the not class. Now, obviously, with them being in a non-combatant curriculum for their school, there are some things to take into account, like the fact that Akane was helping them fight Shaola, and the only reason why they were able to kill her was because she was in shock from looking at all of the death weapons and Shinigami himself pulling up mid-fight, startling her and leaving her wide open for Tsugumi to ultimately kill her. In ordinary circumstances, would she be able to defeat a witch? Maybe, but to be honest, I would highly doubt that. Now, in ordinary circumstances, would she be able to beat a Gorgon sister? Not in a million years, I'd say. But above all else, despite being in a not class, she did give a decent fight against Shaola alongside her two Meisters, and even then she was able to perform a Soul Resonance, and no one else below her on this list would be capable of doing that. Maybe Tom, but we have not seen that. And then the fact that this Soul Resonance attack was strong enough to damage a Gorgon sister, I think, obviously, Tsugumi reigned supreme over the not students. But now we're diving in to the EAT students, the students that actually fight. And the funniest thing about this is that we're going to be diving right into the elites of that class. Every single member from Spartoy. This team would consist of all of the top 1-star Meisters, and now they are level 2 with a Death Scythe on their team. So they are the best of the best, only being beat by the other Death Scythes and teachers. And to start this list off, we have Kim, a Meister and a Witch. Now, Jackie is a very nice weapon. You can spew fire from her, use her chain for long range, extend her and use her as a staff, or use the regular lantern part to simply pummel your opponents up close, etc. I would say that Jacqueline is an amazing weapon. We see her used by Stein, and she is an absolute monster. The amount of versatility she offers is just out of this world. And with Kim being a Witch and a Meister at the same time, you would expect them to be higher on the list. Kim can basically take almost unlimited damage because her magic allows her to regenerate. In a long range fight, it's hard to believe that she would ever lose. Seems broken on paper until you really look at things. Jackie's a good weapon, but Kim kinda sucks. She is a very weak Meister. She lacks a lot of mobility. If we compare this to Maka, Maka can flip around, do all this crazy stuff. Kim cannot, and that's why an ordinary weapon could actually threaten her. A weapon with no Meister. If you're fast enough to take off her head or anything like that, she's kinda done. Even if she can regenerate. Up next, we have Ox. Now, when you take into account that his weapon actually defeated Kim, I feel like that says enough in itself. But outside of that, Ox does have plenty of feats to his name that could put him above her in most Meisters. One of them being that he's one of the smartest students at DWMA, only being underneath the smartest, which is Maka, by 1 point. So he would be the second smartest student. The type of weapon he uses is a lightning spear. Now, Harvard doesn't have as much resourcefulness as Jacqueline because he is a simple spear, but his long range capabilities, speed, and offensive abilities with lightning would put him above most Meisters. With his intellect and fast thinking skills alongside this extremely fast lightning spear, it's hard to see yourself not getting overwhelmed and blitzed by his genius strategic abilities and the disgusting speed of a lightning spear. Above Ox, now this was kinda hard to decide for a placement, considering this character has been a 2-star Meister since Soul Eater Not, so he has a lot more experience than your average 2-star Meister. Being a member of the Star Clan just like Blackstar, Akane, Hoshi would have to go above Ox. Ox is a decent combatant, but he definitely wouldn't be able to fight someone like Akane. Akane and Clay are known as DWMA's elite duo. Unlike Ox, and just like Blackstar, Akane can attack people with his soul wavelength. He has such good control over his wavelength that he can use it offensively and attack your soul directly. This would put him above characters like Maka, who simply have soul perception, at least in terms of combat. Oh wait, I forgot to mention, he also has soul perception as well. So in terms of his toolkit as a Meister, he's got it all. Since Soul Eater Not takes place before the actual story of Soul Eater, Akane would have been able to fight a witch like Shaola all by himself. Granted, he had Tsugumi's help in defeating her, but the fact that he would give a witch that much trouble and be a 2-star Meister should say a lot about his skills and combat abilities. And you know, I hate to repeat myself, but he's also a member of the Star Clan. He's so skilled, he'd even work alongside Sid and help him infiltrate the Kishin's lair. His combat ability, skills, and experience outweigh most 2-star Meisters. Up next above Akane, we have Kilik. Now, Kilik held the title for being top 3, one of the strongest Meisters in all of DWMA. The thing here is, we don't know whether or not Akane was included in that bracket because at the time that title was given to him, they were all 1-star Meisters, and Akane would have most likely been in a different league because at the beginning of Not, he was already a 2-star elite. And as this story progresses from Not to Soul Eater, he would only get more experience and power. So it was hard to choose between the both of them. But I ultimately decided to use Kilik. He is a special kind of Meister, a utility Meister. He can use 2 different weapons at the same time. And we have yet to see any other character with that ability. Now, unfortunately, he'd only be using his main weapons, Fire and Thunder. He most likely wouldn't be able to utilize that in a fight between the two. Now, what made me ultimately decide to put Kilik above Akane is the fact that he was able to defeat a demon tool that could see 20 of his moves into the future. And after looking into the future and analyzing Kilik, he could not counter him. There was no possible way for him to counter Kilik punching him. And if that isn't enough for you, Kilik fought a demon tool soldier programmed in all forms of martial arts used throughout the world. He fights this opponent and one-shots him without even trying. His combat ability is in a completely different league for both of those things to even happen. And that's not including the fact that he could utilize both Fire and Thunder when it comes to his 2 boxing gloves. Or pots, just in case somebody corrects me in the comment section. Now above Kilik, we have the start of the highest tiers in this series, if not the strongest characters, period. And we're going to start this off with a former student of DWMA, Krona. Now, I'm not going to go over Krona's entire moveset because there's actually no need to prove that he's stronger than everyone else on the list. Like I said before, this would be the start of the god tiers in the series. But here are some simple reasons why he would be stronger than Kilik and everybody else. Krona actually killed a Death Scythe and his Meister. This fight was so bad that he covered an entire city with black blood. A giant marble of it that would seal it off and swallow everyone and everything inside of that marble in black blood and the madness of it. That's impressive, but what's even more impressive is the fact that Krona is so strong he was able to push back Black Star in a battle of strength. And then you add in the fact that his black blood and the materialization and hardening of it allows him to have unlimited resourcefulness when it comes to defensive abilities, offensive abilities, and evasive abilities. Attacking you with giant lances, creating wings, using his black blood coat as armor, and anything else he can think of. In fact, if you want another example of how fearsome his strength is and his creativity with black blood, he used his black blood to create tethers to rip a tooth out of the moon. Yes, this man is so strong he is capable of damaging the moon, literally breaking a giant chunk of it off. And if that's not enough for you, what makes Krona in a completely different league? If you, even after seeing how strong and versatile his arsenal is, if you still think that any other character could fight him below him on this list, he has the #1 kryptonite in the series. He can destroy the connection between a Meister and their weapon. And good luck fighting him without a weapon. It took a Death Scythe to take him down. And to be fair, if I'm being honest with you, that attack didn't really even do much to him because he was still standing. But after seeing Maka and her father work together and have a connection, he ended up going crazy and tweaking. So honestly, it's kinda hard to believe that anyone would be able to fight Krona because he outclasses them in strength, speed, versatility, and then he's got kryptonite on his side. Good luck with that. Easily one of the strongest characters in the series. Up next above Krona, we have Maka. And this wouldn't be any ordinary version of Maka, this would be her in her full black blood dress. The fact that she's even able to fight up against the Kishin in itself should say enough about her strength, because Krona definitely wouldn't be able to do that. The fact that she can even go against somebody with a god level soul wavelength easily puts her above Krona. And not only this, she might actually have the strongest attack in the series, Kishin Hunter. We have Witch Hunt, Demon Hunt, and the strongest one of them all, Kishin Hunt, a god killer. And no one in this series has performed an attack of this caliber. The only thing bad about this is the fact that she needed help when it came to landing this attack on the Kishin. And then you take into account that she has a death scythe in her hands that can connect to other souls and hack into them. She's nothing short of being broken. Up next above Maka, we have the current god of the world of Soul Eater, Kid. Now, if being the god of the cosmos doesn't say enough for you, I don't know what else possibly could. Maybe the fact that his soul is so big that it could swallow the moon, and his soul wavelength is so strong it was causing the earth to react to it by pushing away the clouds and causing waves on the ocean. And then you take into account that he has the strongest ability in the entire series, Madness of Order. An intense madness so strong that it could eclipse all human emotions and leave only a mechanical cycle of birth and death. Basically, he would have full order over all living things and they would no longer have any free will. Rather than letting anything in the cosmos that lives, any humans, any life, have freedom of choice, he could simply take it all away and you'd basically be forced to do his bidding. And then because he's a god in the world of Soul Eater, he can do anything. That's not a joke or an exaggeration, but we'll get more on that later with the next character on our list and the strongest in the entirety of the series, Black Star. At the end of the series, even as the new god of the world of Soul Eater, during their fight with the Kishin, Asura admits and says that Kid is slightly worse than Black Star, but since then Black Star has been training and becomes a god, a warrior god. He is so strong, he can fly without Tsubaki, and he's getting so strong that he'll be able to fight the Kishin alone without a weapon. It just goes to show how strong he would be currently if he were to use Tsubaki. If he's able to fight a god without a weapon, if you put a weapon in his hands, it's over. There's literally no contest. I don't think anybody is seeing Black Star in the series in this form. I cannot stress this enough because this is very easy to miss. He can float without Tsubaki. In the day he will fight the Kishin alone. Not alone as in without Maka and Kid, but alone by himself, no weapon. Kid already said before that he was the strongest Meister, no contest. His martial arts skills are so disgusting he was able to adopt a form of martial arts mid-combat just because he thought it felt right in order to counter his opponent. And then on top of this, he's a god and he can do literally anything. He is beyond human understanding. He can grab lasers, interact with them, and throw them. He can simply fly because he wants to. He can swallow nukes. He can fight with a broken spine and still move. He is easily the strongest character in the series outside of Shinigami and Asura, but he is not far from hitting that point. Now up next we have the strongest character. And yes, he is actually stronger than Black Star. And that would be Hero, the worst and weakest Meister in the entirety of this series. But the moment he wields Excalibur, he was on his way to become a 3-star Meister and was one-shotting all of the strongest students in the school. Now, why is he above Black Star, you might be asking? Well, that's just because Excalibur is just that broken. Okay, I'm actually kidding. I don't know where Hero would actually be. You could debate that he would be the strongest, but if you want a real placement, I'd probably put him underneath Maka. But again, you know, you could debate him being the strongest. I can't really decide, but it's easily one of those two spots. If Excalibur by himself can defeat Asura, then that would determine everything. I'm gonna let you guys decide on where you want him to be placed. But with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And here are some other videos on the screen for you guys to watch. And with that, I'm out.